Welcome to a new episode of the Guru Perspective, and I'm your host, the Guru himself. I want to get into some things and get into them really quick and get the monkey off of my back that is known as the NFL. Yes, I said it. For a person who loves NFL and football, I just was really glad now after the Super Bowl, the season is over with. I want to focus on things like talking about what happened in the NFL. With the Super Bowl, but then I want to get into the NBA trade deadline and the grades that I gave out. And I want to start off by saying when it came to the Super Bowl, it was what can I say? I looked to see a really good game as far as offense and defense, but it was lackluster in both. I feel like at this point, people were saying a lot of things, and I got it from a lot of my homeboys too, saying, man, we'd have been better off having Bo Nix play, man, and if he didn't get injured, it wouldn't even be the New England Patriots. And what was funny too, I even seen some backlash or some comments too that Puka Nakua put out, making the laugh emoji at Sam Darnold. And then Ernest Jones responded saying, "You at home with your goofy ass." It was like a lot of funny stuff that happened. But yeah, man, this was very lackluster. When I say lackluster, man, this goes on the list with the Seattle blowing out the Denver Broncos. Yeah, for all you Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning fans out here who love them so much, who try to bury that Super Bowl performance, no, that happened. And the one with the San Diego Chargers, yes, back when they were called the San Diego Chargers with Junior Seau and the San Francisco 49ers. Just really bad all around, man. And I didn't expect this for a Super Bowl. I kind of expected it to be like them filling each other out as far as with the defenses, because both defenses played well. But, this is how the game went. Seattle field goal, Seattle another field goal, and then the field goal, we went to halftime. Third quarter, they kicked the field goal, and then they finally made a touchdown. Sam Darnold passed to A.J. Barner, and then that's when New England finally scored with Mac Hollins. Mac Hollins scored, and it was 7-19. Then you get another field goal from the, Seattle Seahawks, and then you had a touchdown. And this was crazy too because it was a 45-yard interception that was, took back. And I said, wow, you let Achina and Wusu get you on a pick six. That was just really sad right there. Just was really thinking like, man, Sam Darnold played, but he played not to lose. And Drake May played not to win, man. And I can't blame it all on him. And Ramondre Stevens got a 7-yard pass. And when he got that pass, Stevenson, it was 13-29. We already knew it was over because it was 2 minutes and 21 seconds left in the game. I believe the halftime did better than that game, to be honest with you, because, yeah, just in case for all the people who wasn't too happy with Bad Bunny in the performance or what happened because he doesn't speak English. They still said from what he's did, from the history and how he actually did his performance, it definitely did well because Kendrick Lamar was the highest performance before then, this last performance with Bad Bunny. He did 133.5 and Bad Bunny did 135.4. So yeah, man, it was still a really good halftime show, and he made history as well. It was a historic halftime show. But the real thing was, to me, was still a head scratcher, man. The Super Bowl was really bad this year. And it was to the point where at the halftime, I think a lot of people started zoning out. I believe some people wanted their teams to show up and win, like the Seattle Seahawks. Sam Darnold, for the most part, people wanted to see him succeed. I definitely wanted to see him succeed for what he's been through. He's been through the doghouse and back. I mean, he went from a bad organization when it came to, him getting coached up and need to be the quarterback he should be after being the third overall pick with the Jets. They ended up getting rid of him. He went to the Carolina Panthers. He got thrown away there, him and Baker Mayfield. I'm just glad that they were able to bounce back so gracefully. And, after he was there with Carolina, he went to San Francisco. He played well, when, Brock Purdy was out, he stepped up and he basically plugged in and played and did what he needed to do. Kyle Shanahan definitely had him on his way helped him with his craft and helped him be, the quarterback that he came out to be. I know they say Kyle Shanahan is one of those guys who's a quarterback guru and he's good with quarterbacks. And that definitely worked out for him going to Minnesota because he was legit. He won 14 games with Minnesota. But when it came to the playoffs, he failed. He just couldn't hold up to that type of pressure at the time. Then you look at him going to Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith wanted more money, felt like he deserved it, didn't get it. He left. He went to the Las Vegas Raiders. We've seen how that panned out. And now you have Sam Darnold, and people was like, okay, Sam Darnold to Seattle. Okay, what does that even mean? Who cares? Mike McDaniel basically believed in that man after what he seen and the evidence of what he had last year. And all Sam Darnold did was repay him with another 14 win season back to back with two different franchises. Nobody has ever done that in history. You had Tom Brady went back to back 14 game season, but you didn't do it in two different organizations. That's the thing. He was with the Minnesota Vikings and then he turned around and did it with Seattle. And at this point, they did well in the playoff. They beat the Rams again on the road to the Super Bowl, and here we are. Like I said, it was a lot of field goals in this game. But the touchdown really sealed the deal. That was 5 plus, field goals in this game. But at the same time, you got to give credit where credit is due because the New England Patriots defense did their part, but the offense didn't show up. The offense was historically bad. That left side of the line, your O line, the left side is supposed to be your strong side. The blind side, we seen the movie, you know what I'm saying? But it was just really terrible. The offensive line didn't step up. You had two rookies on the line. The one I'm definitely familiar with is Will Campbell, and people gave him a lot of heat, saying, you said that you would die protecting Drake May. And then they had a picture of him like he was stepping out and kind of hiding, from the fact. But they said after the game, he was emotional. He was in his feelings, which you should be after a loss. If you don't cry or be in a lot of pain when you lose the Super Bowl, obviously you wasn't meant to be there. Even though New England wasn't meant to be there, especially the way that line showed up, because the defense definitely did their part. The defense stepped up and the defense played excellent. And I gave them credit where credit is due. They made the game to where it was 5 field goals. I was just really surprised in seeing that pick six too. Like, Drake, man, what the hell was you thinking? And I was laughing and I was talking to people recently and saying those ghosts that Sam Darnold was seeing back in the past came to haunt Drake May in the future. But yeah, I still give credit where credit is due. They still got a really young team. They basically built that team on really good defense. Just for people who don't know and who don't understand this, defense wins championship and it shows. I still feel like it's things that I wanted to discuss on the off season as well. And then I definitely will talk about some things like, the Lions review, talk about what happened this season, and even focus on getting the draft in order now. So, because we know all the 32 teams and my predictions. But until then, I just want to give shouts out and say congratulations to the Super Bowl champion, which are the Seattle Seahawks. No matter how bad I feel like that Super Bowl was, and it was painful to me to watch it too. I knew I had to get up in the morning and get an MRI. So I was like, man, let me focus on watching some of this and then, get ready early so I can get up and do what I needed to do. But I'd rather, went and got me some sleep versus sitting up and watching that painful Super Bowl. Even watching Paint on the Wall Drive was not bad as that Super Bowl. That's my opinion. Other people might think different. I know a lot of people was happy for the Hawks. I definitely was happy for Sam Darnold for all the things that he's been through, people not believing in him and people throwing shade at him. When I seen him perform this year with that good defense, I said that's really all he needed. And it was in a losing effort. It wasn't when they won. It was when they lost, when they had the game where he had one of his worst games. Sam Darnold had 4 picks in that game, and they still had a chance to win. If they could have got that ball up until at least the 50-yard line, at least, because they had to kick a 61-yard field goal, which it looked like it was going in at first until they ran out of gas. But when you have a team like that, and when you basically threw 4 picks and still have an opportunity to win, that's when I said all he needs to do is just clean up a little bit. Because like I said, he didn't really like just blow us out of the water with his performance. He did just enough for them not to lose. His stats in the game was Sam Darnold had 202 yards, 19 to 38, and he had a touchdown. Drake May had 295. Of course, this was in garbage time. 27 of 43, two touchdowns, and he had two horrible, costly picks in that game. But it was just basically the performance of both defenses because for the most part, it was like New England wasn't giving up any touchdowns. Yes, they gave up a touchdown, but if New England just so happened to pull out that game, or if they would have won that game, Christian Gonzalez would definitely been the sure MVP on defense because of many plays as he stopped. I kind of figured the cornerback plays on both ends was going to be good. You got Tyreek Woolen and you have Devin Witherspoon, one of my favorite players. I definitely felt like the Detroit Lions was going to go after him until, we got undercut by the Seattle Seahawks. He definitely showed up and he showed out this game, him and Tyreek Woolen. But I definitely feel like Carlton Davis the third, which it hurts me too to say this, is because he played for the Lions and he so happened to get banged up and injured at the end. But he wanted to come back. They didn't want to pay him the money he wanted. And the funny thing was, when he went to New England, he helped them go all the way to the Super Bowl with him and Christian Gonzalez. That was a pretty good 1-2 tandem. And there's no disrespect because Tyrion Arnold didn't do what I wanted him to do this year, even though he improved and played better. DJ Reed played well until he got injured. But yeah, it wasn't still going up to the amount to what we need because I know if you have good cornerback play and a good front on defense, you could go places. I feel like the overall performance of both teams' defense was phenomenal, but the offense definitely paved the way. The field goal kicker should have been the MVP. All the damn field goals he made, 5. But at the same time, I still feel like Kenneth Walker III was phenomenal when he needed to be. He gave them big plays and he helped them get into field goal range. So like I said, their final score was 29-13. Congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks. You definitely deserve that victory. I want to move on now, and I want to talk about a few things, kind of give you a few stats on this whole situation right now and let you know how I feel about what happened and how everything escalated. I feel like it was still a situation where it was opportunities right there. You had a young team and New England, who basically built on that defense and built on Drake May and trying to get him the pieces. I still feel like right now they need to get them some veterans to shore up that O line. That O line came back to hunt them when they definitely needed them the most. No disrespect to Will Campbell because I know they've been definitely giving that man a hard time already, but a lot of it ends up have to do with him. Yes, he's a rookie. He just came out of LSU. But they need to show up the line and get some veterans who can help him work on his craft right now. That's one of the things they need to do. But it's going to be hard to go back to the Super Bowl. I usually say he's young, man. This person's 22, 23 years old. They'll see the Super Bowl again. Man, you might not see the light of the Super Bowl again. It's up to Mike Brable, Josh McDaniels, and what they do as a whole in this free agency and the draft. They did a good job after being 4-13 to get to the Super Bowl, and I still have faith that they will be able to. I know people too much or don't too much care for Robert Kraft and that organization, and it's been a lot of stir up and messy things that's been happening. I can't say within the organization, just the whole, Bill Belichick being snubbed and everybody's upset now because they feel like Tom Brady's going to be next when it comes to the Football Hall of Fame. But let me get into these stats right quick as well. The New England Patriots have won 17 or more games, regular season and playoffs, in a single season for the first time: 2003, 2004, 2007, 2016, and 2025. All other NFL teams combined this century have had 4 such seasons. So congratulations for definitely getting there. Oldest first time MVP in MLB, NBA, NHL, and NFL. History age at the end of their regular season. Pittsburgh Pirates. Willie Stargill, 1979. He was 39 years old, 208 days. You had Oakland A's, Dennis Eckersley, aka Eck, 1992. He was 38 years old and 1 day. And yours truly, congratulations to Matthew Stafford from the Los Angeles Rams. In 2025, he was 37 years old and 331 days. So, congratulations. That was definitely well deserved. The New England Patriots made history on losing the most Super Bowls in NFL history. Now, this was the good and the bad of them getting there, too. A win would have got them out of that category, but a loss definitely made them make history. And now they're 6-6 in the Super Bowl. The six they won with Tom Brady, and the other six they didn't win because they lost three with Tom Brady as well. Super Bowl 20, Super Bowl 31, 42, 46, 52, and 60. So yeah, that's heartbreaking for a lot of the New England Patriots fans. Yes, you've been there and you played a lot of Super Bowls, but then you lost a lot too. The Seattle Seahawks are the first team in NFL history to win a Super Bowl while having zero turnovers that entire postseason. That's important. Them keeping the ball clean and not having any turnovers in all the games, especially the one when they had the real close games against the Rams. That helped them punch their ticket to the Super Bowl because, to be honest, and no disrespect, that was more of a Super Bowl that we had that we didn't have with the Super Bowl that just displayed just recently this past Sunday. It was definitely lackluster, and the performance was something I definitely couldn't imagine. I definitely wanted to see a lot more touchdowns, but it was like field goals, field goal after field goal. But like I said, you still have to give credit where credit is due. The defense showed up and did what they had to do. It was just a very lackluster offensive display. And when I looked at it too, it was like Sam Darnold did just enough to win. He didn't tear it up like that neither, but then his O line didn't let him down. So that's one thing I had to put in there and add. Since seasons began in 1975, the number one seed has won the Super Bowl 27 times. Only one of those number one seeds had to beat three 12 win teams during the playoff run. And you already guessed it, it's the Seattle Seahawks. Sam Darnold is the first quarterback in NFL history to lose his first career playoff start by double digits, but then come back and win the Super Bowl the very next year by double digits. Drake May is the 14th NFL quarterback to debut in the Super Bowl era and win each of his first three career starts. Bad part is he is the only one of those quarterbacks to complete less than 60% of his passes in the three starts. And that's where a lot of people start to look and start to have a head scratching situation when it came to Sam Darnold, man. I mean, not Sam Darnold, Drake May. Drake May played not good this whole playoffs. And people said, when is that going to come back to haunt him? And then you had a really strong powerhouse defense over there that was going to rattle Drake May. Stephen A didn't even give him a chance in this Super Bowl, and he had every right to feel that way because everything that he said that he thought was going to happen and him being exposed, definitely how it went down. It was just terrible, but you can't blame it all on that youngster, a 2 year quarterback. That offensive line let them down, and some of that game planning as well. No disrespect to Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels, but the whole team, needed to take that L because that's just how bad they performed. Including playoffs, Sam Darnold has 30 wins since the start of last season, 14 with Minnesota and 16 with Seattle. Darnold 30 wins is the most by any quarterback who played in multiple teams over a 2 year span in NFL history. So I definitely like to give them credit on that as well. I want to move on now and I want to talk about basically what happened over the weekend or basically the NBA trade deadline. So that's what I want to step into right now. Let me get out of that. I'm sorry. I want to focus on the grades of these guys, man, and the teams. I wanted to get with the Anthony Davis and the Washington Wizards news right now. I gave the Dallas Mavericks a D minus because I feel like if you traded to get AD and then you change that up the next year, that means that you feel like that was a flop. Yeah, you don't have the people in charge who was in charge last season and just that terrible trade to Los Angeles. But now you feel like with the injuries and the things that happened with AD in Dallas already, because he haven't even played 40, 50 games, if I'm not mistaken, and you ship him off to the Washington Wizards, that's sad. I should have gave it an F, but then, when healthy, I still feel like he's a very talented player. But unfortunately, that being said, AD will not be back the remainder of the season. He had like a groin injury, and he had like just different injuries that he had, an injury to his leg, and they just felt like let him just sit out the rest of the season and get healthy. I'm hearing rumors too that he hate Washington and he never really wanted that trade to materialize. So I wouldn't be surprised if he get bought out or trade still happen after he come back next season. But we'll see how that work out. I gave Washington C on this one because yeah, when healthy, I still feel like he's a really good player. But at this point, is he ever going to be healthy? And Washington got a lot of talent over there now that they have from this draft. I mean, this trade deadline. I'm sorry. They had a really good trade deadline. And I'm still feeling like they're going to be one of the teams who get a top draft pick. But what is that still going to do for this team? So I'm just to the point where, yeah, you can see the talent on paper, but how is it going to materialize going into the next season? Are they still going to be a team who's on the outside looking in? I'm definitely thinking so. James Harden to the Cavs for Darius Garland, and he went to the Clippers. I gave the Cavs a D plus because you had Garland over there. I feel like he's a phenomenal player. He's still young. You give up young talent to get an old person on your team. A disgruntled person in James Harden who's never satisfied. If he don't have his way and he want out after a year and you don't want to give it to him, you seen how he react. That dude gained 50, 60 pounds and just looked like a slob. And he wouldn't even give a damn. And he'd just basically go through the motions and act like he don't want to build your team. He would destroy a franchise and he's a locker room cancer. That's the guy that you draft or actually you bring over there to your franchise right now. If he's not happy, he's not going to perform and he's going to want out. I was surprised because he was saying how he wanted to be at home, how he was happy to be home and wanted to build his legacy there. In 1 year, to now leaving. And I can't blame and put all the blame on him because we know how Kawhi Leonard is. And Kawhi is to the point where he'll play good in the regular season. And he'll look like how he's looking right now, one of the top players in the league. He's always been top five. And he's a two-way player, offense and defense all day, every day. But when the playoffs come, he finds an excuse to get hurt and just sit on the sideline and make and collect that money. I still feel like the Clippers in this got an A because you got young talent to go over there. And it's good because, his dad played over there with the Clippers. And then you got a little younger after getting him. The thing is, he's a little injury prone himself. So I want to see how that worked because the team's still doing good and they're definitely stepping up their game. They still have an opportunity to get past 500. They're not a bad team as we thought because at first their record was terrible. And I said, yeah, they need to just start over and get rid of everybody on that team and try to get younger and rebuild. But then they just went on a winning spree with James Harden and Kawhi. And those guys was just clicking and they were really looking good all of a sudden. And now to get younger with him too, I'm just hoping he can stay healthy because that'll definitely take them to the playoffs at least. Jerry Jack Jr. to the Utah Jazz. I gave that trade a D for the Grizzlies because I said it didn't make no sense to me. I should have gave it an F because I thought for sure Ja Morant was going to leave and he was going to go to another team because how disgruntled he was being and saying he don't F with his teammates and didn't want to be there. He basically was just showing that he was the distraction that they needed to get rid of. But then you get rid of Jaren Jackson Jr. Yeah, that was a head scratcher to me. Like, make that make sense. And then you take him to Utah Jazz. The team was definitely not in it right now. So I wanted to know how he felt overall. And to know now that they're going to stick with Ja Moran, I thought that was a huge joke. That's how his teammates feel about that now when he wasn't being a team player and didn't want to be bothered with them. That being said, the Jazz got a B on that one for me. I felt like that was a good move for the Jazz because of the fact is, hey, collect all the players you can right now, and hopefully y'all can do something with that team. They're not doing anything right now, and I'm still surprised that they got guys over there like Markkinen. But what are you going to do? Kristaps Porzingis to the Golden State Warriors for Jonathan Kuminga to the Atlanta. Okay, I gave the Hawks a C because they're young, and then I like Jonathan Kuminga, and I think that he'll perform well when he get the opportunities because he's a good player. But I just didn't think that he suited well for the Golden State Warriors, and Steve Kerr definitely wasn't giving him the opportunities. I don't know why. He must have been in the doghouse or did something in Golden State, and we never knew about because they kept in house. But you could tell, basically, Steve Kerr didn't care for that guy. Rather than torture him, I was just glad for them to let him walk. I gave the Warriors a D on this one. I know some people may have gave them an A, but I don't give a damn. This is me, and this is how I'm doing my grades. I feel like you had a chance to get Jaren Jackson Jr. That's what people might not know. They were heavy and they were aggressive on getting this man, which I feel like he's a really good big that they should have tried to win suited for. But then they wanted to swing for the fences and they was trying to go after Giannis Antetokounmpo. Things didn't work out because at the end of the day they closed the door and said, "Hey, it ain't no chance we keeping Giannis because he still got another year on his deal." So the Golden State Warriors missed out. And rather than getting Jaron Jackson Jr., they ended up not getting him, or they ended up not getting, a Giannis Antetokounmpo. So they had to settle and get an injury-prone Kristaps Porzingis. When he plays and when he's healthy, he's phenomenal. But that's when he's healthy, and that's rarely. Avika Zubac to the Indiana Pacers. I gave the Pacers a D plus because what the hell are you doing? You already have a big Miles over there, Miles Turner. Scratch that, you guys. Miles Turner's not there anymore, but I still give him D plus because you had Miles Turner and you just let him walk. And then he went over to, the Milwaukee Bucks. With the Milwaukee Bucks still ain't doing nothing with him and Giannis. But then I gave the Clippers an A on that deal because of the fact is the Clippers are definitely trying to move on for some of their pieces and trying to get younger. And I feel like right now they're gelling. They didn't really need Zubac because, yeah, he's a good player when he's playing. But the young team and the chemistry they're starting to get over there is starting to mesh right now. So I believe that that's starting to work, man. And if it don't work, don't try to fix it. But at this point, he was a spandable piece. And, they was definitely doing that, man, to try to clear some room to get some more players in play. Nikolai Vucevic, he went to Boston and Anthony Simons went to Chicago. I was a little disappointed because I liked the way Anthony Simons was playing with Boston. I feel like they meshed really good. But what I still feel like right now with the emergence for some of the guys who was on the bench and who was playing, who came out and really stepped their games up in Boston, and they developed really good on some of these bench players and made them like perennial starters. I gave the Celtics a C on that deal. Yes, they needed a big, and I feel like that was a good idea. And they got rid of Anthony Simon for one reason because they're trying to free up the cap space right now. And then they know for sure that they're trying to sell that team. So that makes sense to me. I gave the Bulls an A minus because, like when I was just saying, Anthony Simons is a really good player. And I feel like he's a nice young player that'll fit any team. And I like the Colin Sexton deal. I even like the Jaden Ivey deal that they had too. There's a lot of good players that went over there to Chicago, a lot of young youth. Trey Young to the Washington Wizards. I gave that a C. Trey Young does well in a regular season. It seemed like he didn't mesh with a lot of teammates, and that's the reason why I feel like they moved on. Because man, when you got guys over there like Jalen Johnson and playing at a high level, and he's a triple double waiting to happen, he could do it in a hiccup right now. I just felt like they had enough pieces in Atlanta that they can finally move on from Trey Young and don't hesitate. I gave the Wizards a B plus because of the fact is they're trying to clear room and they're trying to get talent over there. Now you got AD and Trey Young. Let's see how they play. If AD stays over there, and a healthy Washington Wizards team will be a team that's fun to watch. So I'm interested in seeing how that's going to materialize. Honestly, Jeremy Kane to OKC. I gave that a A for the Hornets because of the fact they looked at it and they said, "Yeah, man, we want to make a deal," and I thought that was a good deal on that end. And the Thunder, I gave them an A as well because of the fact is they get a really nice, talented piece that goes over there who can step in or who can help that young, talented team already in OKC to emerge and go back to the finals. Sixers, I gave them a D. I just feel like right now they're trying to figure out what they're going to do, but at the same time, it was sad for me because you still got a Paul George who got suspended for a drug policy. You don't know when. Well, he has 25 games, he'll be out. But then you have a lot of this young talent too, where you could actually afford to not have a Paul George on your team, but then to give up your young pieces like that, I thought shame on you. So yeah, they got a D plus in this one. I should have gave them an F. Jose Alvarado to the New York Knicks. I gave the Pelicans a C on that because I feel like he was the little engine that could. And I gave the Knicks an A because they got another player like Josh Hart. So if Josh Hart injured or down, you still have a person who plays a Jose Alvarado who's basically the same person. It's like they're built the same. They almost damn near look the same. Perfect for the Knicks, especially in a long playoff run. Luke Kennard to Los Angeles and Gabe Vincent to Atlanta. Gave the Lakers an A because I feel like Luke Kennard's a pretty good shooter. And that's what they need more shooters in LA because their shooting sucks when it comes to 3-point shots. And the Hawks a D because you're giving up your young players. And I just felt like that was strange for me. But yes, I understand the whole, divorce with Trey Young. But I just felt like some of the pieces that you had that you can build on, you're not trying to keep right now for future references. So hopefully that works out for them. Ayo the Sun move to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Okay, I gave the Bulls an A minus, and I gave the Timberwolves a B. I feel like the Timberwolves can get all the debt they need, and I'm glad that they got this guy because he's definitely explosive, a person that people's not low key paying attention to. It's definitely gonna help them with depth in the playoffs. Cody White to Charlotte and Colin Sexton to Chicago. Wasn't really feeling this because that's my man's. I definitely like my man's Cody White, man, from the North Carolina days. I gave the Bulls an A for that move though, because the fact is they kind of have like the same player almost, but I believe Colin Sexton can produce more when it comes to ball control, especially when he's healthy. And I gave the Hornets a B. Xavier Tillman Sr. to Charlotte Hornets. I gave the Celtics a B plus because you already know all they doing is trying to clear up cap space right now. And the Hornets, I gave them a C because, yeah, that's nice depth, as a big. But I mean, where's it going to get you when your season seems like it's already about to be over soon? Ty Jones to the Dallas Mavericks. I gave the Hornets a B because it was a transitional player who's actually not too bad, and I believe that he still was a good fit. But I believe right now he'll fit a little better with the Mavs and get them the pieces they need to help contend. Which I still don't believe they'll be a playoff contender this year. I believe they won't do anything as far as until my man's Kyrie Irving come back. Gershon Yabusele went to the Chicago Bulls from the New York Knicks. I like that guy. I feel like he was a scrappy kid. He reminded me of an 80s, 90s throwback. I gave the Bulls a C on this move because I feel like they should have kept Vujic if they felt that way. In the Knicks, I gave them an A because I just like what they're doing as far as getting the pieces and the players that they needed for, the depth for their team so they could compete and go deep in the playoffs. Because like Stephen A said, or like everybody knows right now from seeing in the last few outings when they played on the Detroit Pistons, they coming. They blew them guys out by 34 the first time when they played. I was a little pissed with the Pistons the one game when they lost to the Washington Wizards. Like, come on, man, y'all lose to the Washington Wizards. Y'all got the Knicks coming to town. Y'all need to be careful, man, because y'all get blew out if you don't, play to a high level. And what I found out was when that happened, they was resting some players. And they ended up playing them again and blew them out by 38. So I was definitely pleased with that. DeAndre Hunter to Sacramento, Keon Ellis to Cleveland, and Dario Saric to Chicago. I'm sorry. I gave the Bulls an A on that move. Cleveland Cavaliers got a B plus, and Sacramento got a D. I just feel like with these teams right now, none of them are really in the mix. So it really doesn't matter besides Cleveland getting their pieces and trying to compete and have a playoff depth. But the other team was just doing it basically right now to clear up cap space to try to even make the teams half legit. But some of the trades was head scratchers. It wasn't really a lot of explosive trades like I thought it was going to be the trade deadline, but it was some reasonable ones. Like this one right here with Jay Ivey going to Chicago, Kevin Herter to Detroit, and Minnesota is definitely getting something out of it because they gave us their draft pick, which I don't think is going to be a high draft pick, but still, I feel like them boys up to something. But I wasn't really losing any sleep over the draft pick because I knew the draft pick wasn't going to be big for us. Unfortunately, Jay Ivey didn't pan out. We had a lot of players that had his style of play. I was surprised that if we had those guys, I don't know if they knew how far along they were with their development, but just was disappointed to lose him. But at the same time, he'll go to a young team where he'll be able to get a lot of playing time. So tilt my hat off to that trade. And then we got Herder, who's definitely a good shooter, and we needed more shooters on the team. I'd rather say we'd have been better off getting a point guard who can help out with Cade Cunningham when he's not in the game and who can kind of score as well. But I gave the Pistons an A minus on that deal as well, and A minus for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Lonzo Ball to the Jazz. I gave the Hawks an A on that one because they were just clearing room for a young team. The Jazz get an A because of the fact is they're going to have a person who can distribute the ball when he's healthy. So I just felt like it benefited both teams. Chris Paul to Toronto. When I saw that, I thought that was strange. I'm not even sure if Chris Paul's going to even play anymore. I'd have been happy to see him go to a team to where he can end his career. I just felt like it was a travesty because the Los Angeles Clippers did my man's bowl. But I don't even know if this might be the end of his career, which he's saying. So yeah, it didn't make any sense for me to see this deal because we already know he's not going to play anymore. So that being said, I would like to say that's basically all I had today for my show. I feel like with the Super Bowl, and unfortunately it was lackluster, but I was definitely waiting for the NFL season to be over right now so we can get into the, off season and focus on the draft. And I want to talk about the Detroit Lions review soon. But other than that, I would like to say thank you all for the people who chime in and listen to the show and show the love for me and all their support. The Nighthawk Network for putting me on and giving me a home, and all the people who give me calls, kind of text me and keep me relevant on what's going on in sports. And I want to give you guys my social media so where you can find me at, just in case you want to ask me a couple of questions. And like I say, too, hit them comments, and we definitely appreciate it. Like our links and subscribe. I'm Hoovy on Instagram, Sports Guru to You on Facebook, and Hugh.Lee6 on TikTok. Thank you all for all your support. Until next week, I would like to say peace, and I hope you guys have a blessed week and an even better weekend.